Welcome to Shred the Debt, the podcast that cuts through confusion and empowers you to take control of your financial future. Whether you're buried in student loans, battling credit card balances, or just tired of living paycheck to paycheck, you're in the right place. Each week we bring you real strategies, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you shred your debt and build the life you deserve. Are you ready to take action? Well, subscribe now. Check us out on the YouTube, check us out on the TikTok, or just follow us. Add us to your Spotify or whatever it is that wherever you get your podcasts. Add us to it. This is a great show for everybody. Share it with anybody who needs it. Join the movement to destroy debt for good. No BS, no judgment, just real talk and real results. Let's get to work. Thanks, guys, for joining in. I'm Mike Boone, and I am your host of Shred the Debt. This week, we're going to be talking about the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche approach in paying off your debts. Now, this is going to be a cool show. Last week, we were talking about the emergency funds and saving and doing all that good stuff before paying extra payments. And the viewer questions that came in via email were really focused on these two different methodologies of debt payoff. And I'm like, well, we're going to do a show about it. So we do have some emails that we're going to talk that we'll cover. Pulled 5 that we had last week, and we're going to use them, read them on the air, and then kind of dissect them and help our listeners. So thank you all for being involved and sending in the emails and engaging with the show. We've had a lot of love sent to us, and that's awesome that we've started out and we're kind of doing our own thing, but taking it from a real life approach and doing it in a way that motivates people and gets people engaged in saving money without all the BS, really. All the extra stuff that people try to do, we're just real life. I don't edit this show. Basically, I press record. We talk for roughly 30 minutes, and we go over real life strategies and real life problems and real life people. And that's what I enjoy about this. I enjoy helping people see things from a different perspective. And I think when people can do that, it helps them view things. It helps them create a sense of motivation and a fire inside of them that makes them want to do better for their for themselves, for their family, and more importantly, it just wants people to tackle debt, get it paid off, and live a life that's just beautiful. So let's get into it. So just talking about the two, if we're looking at the debt snowball payoff strategy first, the biggest difference between the snowball and the avalanche is, and I don't know why these are like wintery things. Like I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, I jump off topic sometimes like that. But looking at the debt snowball. So the debt snowball starts with your smallest debt, and you pay that off, and then you take that money and put it towards your next debt. Then you pay off the second debt, and then you take the money that you were paying on the first and second debt and apply that to the third debt, and that creates a snowball effect that eliminates debt, smallest to largest, and then by the time it's like we're playing some sort of video game, and we beat each level, and then as we progress in the game, the levels get harder and harder. But we have better weapons, or we have better strategy as we move forward, and we've created a better player for the game, and that's a way to look at it. The debt snowball strategy, as you go from level to level in a video game, you acquire greater and greater skills. And that's basically how to look at the debt snowball. So by the time you get to the final character, which in most people's debt scenarios would be their mortgage. So as you're, the final boss of being debt free and winning the game is to pay off your mortgage. And or if it's your car, if you're renting and your car is your arch nemesis, or your student loan, whatever your highest debt is, that's your target, and that's your final boss, and that you need to. Looking at it from that perspective, you continue to take money from, say, debt 1, debt 2 when you're working on debt 3, and then you take that money and you apply it to debt 3. You continue to build. Take the debt payments that you were paying on those, and you just add them to the next one. And then eventually, if you were paying, $100 on 3 debts, and you pay those 3 debts off, now you have $300 extra to pay on debt number 4. And then it creates a snowball effect to get you to that final level. So that's basically how the debt snowball works. Now, from a psychological standpoint, the debt snowball seems to be the most effective in keeping you motivated, and motivation is key. Let me just tell you, if you're working and you're trying to stay motivated in paying your debt off, sometimes it's a struggle. I'll tell you, sometimes psychologically it's a struggle. If you don't feel like you're winning, it's going to be a hard road for you. So you have to keep the faith in this, and it's a lot easier to keep the faith when you feel like you're winning. And it's like if we're looking down a road. It's easier for us to see the next exit if we're looking to get gasoline. If we know that there's gas 2 miles ahead or 2 exits ahead, then we can have we have more trust that, hey, we're doing good. We're going to get off here and get some gas. But when it says like next gas stop, 127 miles, then we're like, oh man, we feel defeated. And that's kind of how, when we roll into the Avalanche portion of that, that's kind of how that is. And it's not really. It's just a lot of people from a psychological. That's the word I'm looking for. From a psychological standpoint, it's easier for people to see small wins because they see small wins and they stay motivated. It's harder for most people. I would say most people. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I know for myself and a lot of people that I talk to, the debt snowball, and that's the way that Dave Ramsey teaches, is with the debt snowball. So I know he has a methodology, and I know he has a lot of education and experience. And if he says that's the way to go, I'm gonna trust that. But with my own judgment, I have found that that's the easiest way for me. So looking at turning the page here and looking at the debt avalanche side of things, that's where you're looking at the highest interest. You're not really worried about the lowest or the highest debt or the smallest debt. You're looking at what is costing me the most money every month, and if it's the highest interest, that's what's charging you more every month. So if you have a credit card debt and it's carrying a 24% interest monthly interest rate, then that's, and the rest of yours are like 10% or 8% or 2%, or even if you have something at 0%, your focus becomes the one that's charging you the most interest. Now the thing with that is you will be saving interest, but if it's a debt that you're looking 5 miles down the road, and this is the one that is comparable to watching paint dry. You have to have a different. It gives off a different psychological vibe. You're looking at it from a standpoint of okay, I know that this debt is going to take me 1 year. It's going to take me 1 year to pay off this one single debt. But the interest that I'm going to save by tackling it first is that's satisfying to me. That's my motivation. So the motivation for people that think like that with the Avalanche method is that, hey, I'm saving interest every month. I'm not having to pay this interest. And even though it's not my lowest bill, it's still the one that's costing me the most money. Your mindset is if you can look at something and say, okay, long term, this is what's going to help me. Okay, this is what's going to be the best for me, versus paying off. Well, I have this $300 debt. I could pay it off in 2 months, but I'm paying this other one is higher interest. It's just how you want to look at it, and so. That opens the book here between the two. So that's giving you the most the dumbed down version of it is Snowball method is paying off your debt smallest to largest in numbers, debt numbers. So taking the smallest balance, working your way to the highest balance, and then rolling that extra money after each debt's paid off towards the next highest debt. Avalanche, totally different. You're just looking at interest rates. And I mean, you have to almost be a mathematician to know what's saving you money. I mean, some of these, you have to really dig into it to find what is the interest rate. So it takes a little bit more investigation, and I don't like it. I'm just going to tell you guys I don't like it. So, but it's your choice. If you can stay motivated. It'll probably save you. I won't say probably. It will save you money because you are tackling that higher interest rate. But from a motivational standpoint and from a psychological standpoint, I don't like it. So let's get into it. So we have 5 emails that we received several. 5 I want to use on the air today, and they're pretty cool. They're supporting. Like I say, I think this is episode 7. This first email comes from Brandon in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he says, "Hey, Shred the Debt. I stumbled on your podcast last week and binged a few episodes. I've got $22,000 in debt spread across 4 credit cards and a car loan. I've heard of Snowball and Avalanche, but I'm still confused about which one fits me. I'm motivated by saving money, but I also need to feel like I'm winning. Any advice for someone just starting out? Keep up the great work. Your energy is contagious." Well, thank you, Brandon, for that email. If you're starting out, I'm going to tell you just like I would. Let's say if I'm an expert at golf and I'm training someone who has never picked up a golf club in their entire life, or if I've golfed the wrong way, you have to be open to someone that is teaching you a method. Now, if you're open to me telling you about the method that I prefer and I can show you, then you're going to be motivated because that's the motivation. That's the training that you've received. And just like with golf, the first thing that you have to know, it's easier if you've never golfed, because a lot of people will golf the wrong way, and it's hard sometimes to relearn something if you've already kind of learned a way that's not the way that you're being trained. It's easier to learn from scratch than it is to try to relearn something. That's real life. But if I were you, and I were teaching you, and I were showing you, we were coaching you, I would say look at the Snowball method. There's a ton of information out if you want to use Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app, if you want to use a Monarch app or whatever you want to use. The first thing that you have to do is get to the basics. And if you've started listening to our podcast, you know that there is a foundation, and that foundation starts with a budget. So once you can do that, then you know how much money you can put forth towards your debts. Then you can start tackling these. But the biggest bang for your buck, the biggest motivator, what's going to keep you fired up and keep that fire going inside of you, I feel is going to be the Snowball method. So it's the easiest to learn, and it's really effective psychologically, because once you get that first debt paid off, you're gonna feel like you're winning. You're gonna say, hey, I've done this one. Now it's time to do this one, and I have more ammunition here. I have more resources now to tackle debt number 2, because debt number 1 is over, and I'm taking those resources and putting towards debt number 2. And then when debt number 2 is paid off, now I'm taking the resources from 1 and 2 and going to 3. And that is the easiest way to do it, and that's what's going to keep you motivated and keep you fired up to continue to pay those debts off. So Brandon, thank you for that email, and I hope that helps you. So the next we're going to go to Keisha from Des Moines. Now, Keisha says, subject says, first debt shredded. Hi, I've only been listening for 2 weeks, but your episode on momentum really hit me. I paid off my smallest debt, a $350 medical bill last night. I used the Snowball method, and it felt amazing. I've got a long way to go, but I finally feel like I'm moving forward. Thank you for making debt payoff feel less scary. Oh, Keisha, that's awesome, and I feel like that's in reading the emails. This is there were several of them, and everybody's talking about. Once we started talking about it and hitting on the debt snowball, we talked about it last week, and other emails were touching on it. So this episode just it validates that a lot of people are interested in what can they do to stay motivated. The motivation is the key. And once we get to start talking about my fundamental methodology of problem solving and putting that strategy into paying off debt, you guys are going to be on fire for this, and I'm really excited to roll out the meal plan and talk about it more in depth, so you guys can stay motivated, and then you stay educated, and then it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Well, Keisha, I'm glad that you're able to pay that first debt off, because now that $350 medical bill, you don't ever have to worry about it again. And then you can take whatever you were paying on that medical bill and you can use it to your next bill and then your next bill. It's going to be awesome. There's no need to make debt feel scary, okay? I know it's a big monster, but we can win. And you have a support team here with Shred the Debt that I will be your cheerleader. I will be your coach. I will help you along the way. And if you have any questions or anything that you want to be identified or help with or want to bounce an idea off of me, send an email. Any of you guys out here, send an email, shredthedebt@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to give you guys my 2 cents on this on your journey and to help you guys push forward in becoming debt free. So Keisha, thank you for that email. Next we go to Eli. Eli is in Nevada, and it says the subject is, "Am I doing this wrong?" Hey, Shred the Debt, I started the Avalanche method because my highest interest card is brutal, 27%. I've been chipping away at it for 3 months, but it's slow and I'm starting to feel discouraged. Should I switch to Snowball for a quick win or stick with Avalanche and trust the math? I'd love to hear your take. Sorry, gosh, it's like my second day reading. Well, Eli, let me tell you. So there's a quote from a man that I feel is very relatable to America, and this quote comes from a long time ago, but is very It's real life. And I'm going to tell you, I was sitting at a restaurant in Nashville, Tennessee, and I read this on the wall, and I'd never heard it before in my entire life. And I Googled it to make sure that it was true and that it was from this person. But this quote says, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." I have this written down right here, and I look to it a lot. And that's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And it couldn't be, I mean, you can relate this to a lot of life, a lot of issues in your life that have to do with faith and the uncertainty that you have in whatever. It could be your daily life. It could be in your religion. It could be in your finances, of course. It could be in your relationships. Sometimes you just have to have faith that it's going to work out. And what you're doing is not wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. Just the method that you're using, it takes a certain personality and it takes a certain perspective to see and to have that kind of faith that you're doing the right thing. So have faith that you are paying this debt off and you are doing the right thing. In the end, you are saving interest. Even though it doesn't feel like you're winning. Now, if you want to have a greater sense of win, then switch to the snowball method. You're going to get back to that same debt eventually, and you're going to be like I am with my home. My mortgage is both the smallest debt that I have, and it's also the highest interest that I have because it's my final debt. So it's both, right? So even if even if I were to make double payments on my home, I'm not going to see it right away. It's going to come off the back end and not the front end. My payment's still going to be the same every month. Nothing's going to change immediately in my life. It's going to be down the road, and I have to have faith in that process. And again, that quote from Martin Luther King Jr. is, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." And that's okay because we don't see the whole staircase, but as we continue to take steps, we can look back and we can look up that staircase and be like, well, there's the staircase. Right? It's hindsight at this point because we've been taking these steps forward for so long. We can turn around and we can see the steps that we've taken that's gotten us to where we are, and that is the power of that quote. And that's why I keep that with me a lot, and I share that with a lot of people. So, Eli, you're not doing anything wrong. If you feel like you need to switch to the snowball, just know it's not a quick win. It's not a it's not a game that you're gonna just bam and your debt's gonna be gone. One method versus the other method. It is very much psychologically related, and feeling that win and being motivated. That's the way to do it. And it's like, let's just say if you were a smoker and you cut back, one cigarette a day, and you're used to smoking 2 packs a day, and you're able to cut back 1 cigarette a day, eventually you can overcome that habit by changing the habit. And that's what you're doing. You're changing the behavior, and you're feeling like you're winning versus if you just try to stop. If you just try to stop, it's sort of relatable. I hope you can see how my mind works, because if you try to stop just altogether, and that's kind of comparable of paying that high interest debt, you're more likely to go back to it sooner or give up because it's not easy. It's not a quick win. It's quick, but it's not effective, and you're going to lose steam. If you don't feel like you're winning, you're going to lose steam, and you're eventually just going to lose interest, and you could potentially veer off track and stop the process. If there's nothing motivating you, and you're not seeing differences, it's kind of like let's say you're working out. You can do a full body workout and you become stronger. you become, you become something. But if you're focused on your arms first and not your legs or something like that, you're seeing gains in your arms. That's going to motivate you to then go to your legs, then go to your abs, then go to your whatever. I'm not the best workout person. Know more about saving money and paying off debt than I do working out. But if you're focused on one certain area, you start to see gains, and it makes you want to have gains in other areas. Where if you're doing a total body workout every week, you're getting stronger in every area, but maybe you don't see it, and you lose motivation because you're not seeing the gain that you expect to see. And that's how debt works. And that's how the debt snowball works. It's kind of like, okay, the first debt I'm going to pay off is comparable to, I want my calves to look toned. So I'm doing some calf workout. I'm focused on that. And I see that, and then I move to something else, and then all of a sudden you're doing total body, and you're in great shape, you're healthy, and all that good stuff. So Eli, thank you for that. Stay focused. Do what works for you. But I would recommend the snowball method, not for a quick win, but for just to stay motivated. Motivation is key. And as we talk about the meal plan going on, motivation and education are your number one and number two. If you're not motivated and you're not educated, you're at a real loss in trying to tackle your debt. So let's get to the next one here. This is Tanya from Fort Worth. And the subject here is sharing Shred the Debt with my friends. Hi there. I've been listening since episode 2, and I'm loving the vibe. I'm part of a local financial accountability group, and I'd love to share your podcast with them. Do you have a favorite episode for beginners? Also, have you thought about doing listener call-ins or live Q&A? I think it would be awesome. Well, Tanya, we're still in the starting phase, and it's like we're breadcrumbing people to that are listening to the show to send emails. We're not. I would love to get to that point of doing listener call-ins, but unfortunately, right now I'm not low budget. I'm no budget when it comes to doing this. So for right now, I'm having to just rely on listener emails each week. We talk about what's gonna happen on next week. I throw out our email at shredthedebt@gmail.com, and we get you guys to hit us up in emails, and that's how we're driving the vehicle right now. So I appreciate that. As far as a favorite episode for beginners, I think this whole journey, I would start at the first one and just listen and understand what we're about and what we're trying to do. If you know the purpose of this podcast, it's to help you, and it's not to profit. It's not that I don't want to help people and not make any money. The coaching side of this is the only place that we're doing any type of money making. But just for the advice and just to look over something and help put you guys on the right track. And I'm not interested in any type of financial gain in that sense. I just want to help, and that's why I'm here. And so I think if you just start at the beginning and follow us and look forward to a new show every week and just getting the word out there. And if you guys can spread that word, that's what helps, and that's what's satisfying to me, and that's how I know that's my judge on if we're doing a good job and we're getting out to people. So, Tanya, thank you for that email, and like I say, I really hope that we can get to listener call-ins one day. We're definitely not Ramsey Solutions, but I'm open to it. It's just we don't have the base right now, and if we can get the base, then we'll definitely entertain that in the future. So thank you. Lastly, we have Jamal in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Subject says, help me build my debt attack strategy. Hey, Shred the Debt. got 5 debts totaling $18,000. I'm ready to shred them, but I don't know how to prioritize. I've got a mix of interest rates and balances, and I'm tempted to just pay whatever I can each month without a plan. Can you walk through how to set up a Snowball or Avalanche strategy step by step, maybe in a future episode? Loving the show so far. Keep going. Jamal, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Jamal, I tell you, man, we can do it right here. I mean, we can do a future episode, I guess, and do we can just do a makeshift debt analysis of just make up debts and do a snowball. For the sake of the show and today, I can set you up and basically give you a step by step on a snowball, and I feel like we've done pretty well covering it today. But if you were to take all your debts and let's throw out the mix of interest rates and just for now. I mean, you can do it both ways, but I think you're going to find that you're going to get the most bang for your buck by doing it snowball. I think that's what's going to help you get motivated. And it seems like you are motivated and you want to get after it, and that's great. Don't be tempted to pay whatever you can without a plan. The biggest way to fail at anything in life is not have any direction or not have a plan. If you don't know what your goal is, or you're just like, hey, I want to build a house, or I want to buy a house, or I want to buy a car. You have to have the means in order to do it. And you have to understand the goal is going to be whatever it is. If the goal is to buy a house, you have to have a plan. If your goal is to build a house, you have to have a plan. That's the first thing. You can't just go out here and say, okay, I need a bunch of lumber and I need some windows and I need a door. You have to have a plan. And the debt snowball is the easiest way to make that plan and put it into action. Backing up even further than that, make sure that you have a budget and budget these debts. So you know, hey, I have $100 to go to this debt or $50 to go to this debt, and prioritize those debts and whatever they're, if there's minimum payments. And that's what you have to do for the short term to put in your budget. Then you attack that smallest one, and then you go to the next one. You go to the next one. You go to the next one. If you try to throw too many variables into it, it makes it cumbersome and it makes it difficult. And then I think you'll experience burnout a lot faster than if you're doing a snowball method. Now, if you want to do the Avalanche, you want to try to find out what your interest rates are, and you want to do it that way, I'm not going to say don't do it that way, but I will say I won't do it that way, and I wouldn't recommend you do it that way. So that's how I guess that's how much faith I have in the snowball method versus the Avalanche. So just roll it out, and maybe I do maybe I'll throw something up on a link to a debt and do a breakdown. But I mean, as far as just setting it up, it's really simple. And from episode 1, you'll hear me say over and over and over again that debt is just a math problem, and it is. It's not to be oversimplified, but it's also not to be overanalyzed. I mean, you can look at debt and be like, oh, if I do this, if I do that, you're going to wear yourself out. So what I would recommend to you, Jamal, starting out here, just take your debts, list them, put them down. Hey, I owe $4,000 on this, $3,000 on this, $2,000 on this, $1,000 on this. My payment for this is blah, 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 whatever. Pay the smallest one off. Then take that money that you're paying on the smallest one, go to number 2, and don't worry about the interest right now, because you will eventually get to where that high interest or whatever one you're paying on, it doesn't even matter, because your psyche is going, hey, we're paying off debt. That's our goal. And we have a goal, we have a vision, we have a plan. So once you get your plan together, and then you're educated on how to go about it, apply it, and then liquidate that debt. that's the ins and outs of it. So that's about all the time we have for today, guys. I appreciate everyone. Now, next week we're going to be talking about the psychology of debt. Imagine that. We've been talking about the psychological value and the psychological effects that debt has on you, and what's keeping you motivated and all that stuff. So next week we'll get into that. If you guys want, to keep this show going, I love the emails that we're getting. If you want to talk about the psychology of debt and you have questions about how to stay motivated or any of that, if you have questions about the meal plan, we're getting there, right? You've heard me talk about it in previous episodes, the meal plan. What is that? Well, it's the motivation, education, application, and liquidation of debt. And that's my manufacturing experience, and that's my manufacturing problem-solving strategy pushed over into debt payoff. And I'm really excited, and we might get into that next week. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to Shred the Debt, where financial freedom isn't a dream, it's a plan. If today's episode has helped you take one step closer to crushing your debt, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rate it, leave a review. We're on the YouTube channel. We're on the TikTok. Everything's Shred the Debt. If you have any questions, you want to use, have emails you want to send us to use on the air, it's shredthedebt@gmail.com. I appreciate every one of you guys. And if you want more tips, join us on the socials, Shred the Debt community. So until next time, keep pushing, keep planning, and keep shredding. You guys got this. Stay motivated. I'm Mike Boone, and we'll see you next week.